Today, we're going to work on another Python project, the tip calculator. Now, to do this, all you need is three pieces of information: the cost of the bill, the tip that you're going to add as a percent to the bill, and then the number of people that you're going to split the bill with. That's it. Now, if you understand those three pieces of information, you will understand how the whole project works. Here are the key Python ideas we'll be using today. You have the print function, you have the input function, then you have two data types that we'll be using in this project, the float and the integers. Then we're going to be going over some of the math operations, so think algebra, just nothing too crazy. Then we're going to be looking at the round function, and then we're going to be looking at f strings. Now, I'll expand all of that in the next few seconds. All right, so let's now expand on the key components or the key parts of this tip calculator in Python. Now we have the print function. The print function, I want you to think of it like the friendly greeter. All it does is that it tells the user what is happening. So it doesn't take any information, so you don't have to put anything inside the program itself. On the other hand, you have the input function. The input function is sort of like the way the program listens. So it will ask the user for something, and then the user will have to put some information into the program. Then in this program, this Python project, you have two data types: the integer, or the float. Now, for the float, it's the representation of a decimal, which is typically what we see in representation of money because there are cents or fractions of a dollar. And then you have the integer, which is a whole number. It could be seen in both negative and in positive, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to be looking at essentially the positive numbers or the positive integers. Now, sometimes this usually scares people because we start talking about algebra, but in Python, it does math operations in the same sequence that we were taught in algebra, PEMDAS. Now, PEMDAS is an abbreviation for the way the operations are executed, and you have parentheses being first, so the numbers inside of a parentheses. Then you have the exponents, that's done next, and then you have multiplication, division. Now, they're treated almost the same depending on if you're looking at the equation, which one comes first, whether it's the division, that will be done first, but if it's the multiplication, that will be done first. But they're treated the same way. It just depends on what sequence they are in that equation. And the same thing goes for the addition and the subtraction. It could be done in either order. It just depends on which one comes first. So don't panic. We're not doing any crazy math. We're just doing percentages today. Next, we will look at the round function. And we want to make it look like the way that money is represented. So we will keep the numbers only up to 2 after the decimal place. And that's how we will use this function in the tip calculator. And finally, we're going to look at f strings. F strings makes your code look clean. They let you plug in variables directly into the sentence. There'll be no messy conversions, easy to read, and easy to change. All right, now let's open up PyCharm and let's code this. All right, we're back in PyCharm and we're going to be doing the tip calculator. So we're going to start with the print function. Okay. Next, we're going to start creating variables. And remember that the variables is the total amount of the bill, the tip percent, and the number of people that we're going to split with. And because money is usually represented in 2 decimal places, 2 numbers after the decimal places, we're going to keep the function or the data type as a float, because that could be entered as it could have cents or parts of a dollar. And we want to represent that as with the US dollar sign. Make sure we have the closing quotation marks. Okay. Next, we're going to do the variable for the tip so that the user can select the tip they desire to give. Next, we're going to use the integer function because the tip is going to be represented as a full whole number. Later on, we're going to convert that into a decimal so that way it can be computed into the bill amount to get the tip amount or the percentage amount. Then we're going to add the number of people that this is going to be split up with. The bill is going to be split with. And this is also going to be an integer because there's no such thing as a partial person or part of a person. Okay. And then now we're going to start combining the variables so we can get our desired numbers. So we're going to get the tip rate, which will equal the chosen tip. And because we want this as a decimal to compute this into the cost of the bill, we're going to divide that by 100 to get a decimal. Next, we're going to do the total bill with tip. You have to keep in mind that there's many ways to do this. I'm doing it with trying to keep the code, like the code as concise as possible. You could do it where you break it up into, you do the part where you multiply the decimal to the bill and then add it back to the total bill, which will create two separate lines. But I'm going to just do it in one line. Okay, next we're going to do is the share amount, the number of people we're going to share. Sorry, the amount of money that's going to be shared with the people, and we're going to use the round function in this, keeping the decimal place up to 2, so it is representative of U.S. currency. Here we go, introducing another variable that we created. And again, we want this to be no greater than 2 decimal places. And then finally, we want to print we're going to use the F function, but we're going to print the amount that each person must pay. I'm going to use the dollar sign again, and now we're going to introduce a variable inside the F function, and we're going to do that with curly braces. And we have to make sure we close the brackets. And then now we test our program. So it says here the tip calculator, and we want to split the bill fairly. Let's just do some simple numbers. We're going to add a 10% tip. We're going to add it between 5 people. Oh no, what do we do? Let's see, where's the error? Oh, okay. So as you can see the error, I wanted to show you, look, I still make mistakes here, but it looks like I just didn't add the variables don't match. You can see it here and you can see it here. So let's see if this makes the correction now. Try to run that now. So let's do simple numbers, 100, 10, 5 people, and we got it, $22 per person. You know what's fascinating about the tip calculator or this small Python project is that it shows up everywhere in real life right now. When you split a bill in Cash App, when you divide the rent in Venmo, if you share food delivery services or you calculate a service fee, you're using some version of this calculator. This simple idea exists in money apps, bank apps, and even medical apps. It's a small project, but it has such big value.